All right, let's get into one of the most important American novels ever written, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. We're going to a small, sleepy town called Macomb, Alabama, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Now, this place is just simmering with racial tension, and we're about to see a story that isn't just about a courtroom drama, but also about a kind of ghost story, one that's whispered right across a neighborhood fence. You know, at the absolute heart of this entire story is this one powerful piece of advice about empathy. It comes from Atticus Finch, who's a lawyer, a widower, and really the moral compass for the whole book. And this idea, this simple but incredibly difficult idea of seeing the world from someone else's point of view, that's the lesson his kids are going to spend the whole story learning. And that really gets to the core of it, right? Because this story, it's kind of running on two different tracks at the same time. You've got the kids' innocent but also kind of fearful obsession with their reclusive neighbor, and then you have the town's ugly, violent prejudice against an innocent man. Both are stories about judging people you don't understand, and believe me, they are on a collision course. So our window into this world is our narrator, Jean Louise Finch, but everybody just calls her Scout. When we meet her, she's this feisty, curious 6-year-old tomboy. And it's through her eyes that we get this really raw, unfiltered look at Macomb. All its quirks, its charms, and its really, really deep flaws. So let's meet the crew. You've got Scout, of course. Then there's her older brother, Jem, who's got this big brother instinct to protect her. And every summer, their friend Dill shows up, and his wild imagination is what really fuels their adventures. And watching over all of them is their dad, Atticus, who's basically a pillar of integrity in a town that is about to test him in every way imaginable. For these kids, their entire world, especially during those long summer months, revolves around one single, all-consuming mystery that lives right across the street. And this question, it's way more than just a game. It's really their first lesson in how a town's fear and gossip can turn a real person into a monster. And the thing is, Boo isn't just a guy who likes his privacy. Oh no, he is a local legend, a living ghost story. The town whispers all these crazy things, that he eats squirrels, that he sneaks around at night. To Scout, Jem, and Dill, he's this terrifying phantom. He's what happens when a community's prejudice just goes completely unchecked. But then, things start to happen that just don't fit the monster myth. It starts with a simple dare, but then gifts start appearing in a tree, little things like gum and old pennies. When Jem rips his pants and has to leave them behind, he comes back to find them neatly folded and sewn up. During a fire, a blanket mysteriously appears over Scout's shoulders. Each little event is like a quiet act of kindness, chipping away at the legend and revealing a person. Their monster is starting to look more like a guardian angel. And right as the kids are starting to see their neighborhood monster differently, their entire world is about to get flipped upside down. The summer games are over. A much more dangerous adult conflict is about to erupt, and it's going to show them that the kind of prejudice aimed at Boo Radley, well, it has a far deadlier side. This is it. This is the moment where that bubble of childhood innocence just pops. The harsh reality of Macomb is about to come knocking right on the Finch family's front door. And here's the conflict that's going to tear this town in two. Atticus is asked to defend Tom Robinson, and because he believes in justice for everyone, he agrees. Now, in the segregated South, a decision like that, it doesn't just make you unpopular, it unleashes a wave of hate, and it forces the entire town to confront the ugly stories it tells itself about race. The backlash is immediate, and it's ugly. The kids get called names at school. The town's racism just boils over. And it all leads to this terrifying scene with a lynch mob at the jail. But in this incredibly tense moment, something amazing happens. Scout, who doesn't understand any of the hate, just sees a neighbor. She starts asking one of the men about his son, and her simple, innocent, human connection shames the mob into leaving. So we head to the courtroom, and this becomes the dramatic centerpiece of the whole novel. Inside that courthouse, all of the town's prejudices are on full public display. Atticus isn't just defending his client. He's fighting against this invisible but incredibly powerful wall of bigotry. Okay, so let's just look at the evidence because it is so clear-cut it's almost painful. Atticus proves that Mayella was beaten up by someone who was left-handed. Well, it turns out Tom Robinson's left arm is completely useless. It was mangled in an accident years ago. But you know who is left-handed? Mayella's own father, Bob Ewell. Atticus just systematically takes their story apart piece by piece. And still, the verdict comes back, guilty. Despite all the logic, despite the undeniable truth, the all-white jury sides with its prejudice. Justice is just crushed by the weight of hatred. And for Jem, who watched the whole thing, this moment completely shatters his faith in people. It's a brutal lesson that sometimes facts just aren't enough. This staggering injustice is what finally helps us understand the novel's central metaphor. It's here we learn what it really means to kill a mockingbird, and we start to realize that the town of Maycomb, while it's guilty of doing it more than once. So what is a mockingbird? Well, it's a symbol for pure innocence. They don't harm anyone. They don't do anything destructive. They just make the world more beautiful with their song. To kill one, to destroy that kind of innocence, is the ultimate sin. Tom Robinson, an innocent man destroyed by hate, he's a mockingbird. And as we're about to see, so is Boo Radley, a gentle soul destroyed by rumors. The consequences of that verdict are just tragic and swift. Tom Robinson loses all hope, tries to escape prison, and is shot and killed. Bob Ewell, even though he won the case, feels like Atticus made a fool of him, and he is boiling with rage, vowing revenge, and Jem's belief in the good of the world is just broken. And this is where it all comes together for the climax. The two threads of prejudice we've been following, the kids' fear of Boo Radley and the town's hatred from the trial, they're about to violently slam into each other. The ghost story and the courtroom drama. They're about to meet in the dark. Imagine this. Jem and Scout are walking home. It's pitch black. They hear someone following them. It's Bob Ewell, and he's there to make good on his threat. Scout is stuck inside this big, clumsy ham costume, so she can't see anything. All she hears is a struggle. She hears Jem scream as his arm breaks. And then there's someone else there, someone fighting off their attacker. And the man who carries Jem home, the man who saved them, was none other than Arthur Boo Radley. The neighborhoody phantom, the man they feared and judged for years, came out of his house at the one moment they needed him most and saved them from the very real monster the town's other prejudice had created. So the sheriff finds Bob Ewell dead, and he has a decision to make. He knows that dragging the painfully shy Boo Radley into the public spotlight for a trial would destroy him. He just watched the legal system completely fail one mockingbird, and he refuses to let it happen to another. So he makes up a story, choosing a deeper, truer kind of justice over the letter of the law. And this is the moment that brings everything full circle. After Scout walks Boo home, she stands on his porch for a minute, and for the very first time, she sees her own street, her own life, from his perspective. She sees the kids that he quietly watched over, cared about, and ultimately saved. And in that one moment, she finally truly understands her father's lesson. The novel ends there, but its message, man, it has never felt more urgent. It makes us look at our own world, our own communities, at the stories we tell and the judgments we make. And it asks us a really tough question. Who are the innocent, the vulnerable, the misjudged people among us, the mockingbirds, that we fail to see? And what are we going to do to protect them?